live because there's a lag before I'm actually live. This one's going to be about a 15-minute broadcast. It's going to be quite a fantastic one. It's one that I absolutely love. The success of your team depends on how they bond with each other, right? The success of your team depends on how they bond with each other. Now, it doesn't matter what size your team is, whether you're running a small startup of 4 to 5 staff, or whether you've got a national or international team. The success of your team depends on how they bond with each other. Now, how do we build a strong and winning team? How do we help our team to deal with the different character types to win as a team? Each of us run businesses and want to have the most highly motivated, efficient, effective, informed, skilled individuals with the amazing skill, knowledge, and attitude in order to do their job. But when a team comes together, there are different character types, and these character types can clash. Now, you all know what I'm talking about. Sylvie's in the kitchen and she's moaning and groaning about what Freddie's just done in the sales side of the business, and he can't do that. And then you've got Jimmy in the warehouse, is moaning that the orders are coming down and no one's listened to him. These moans and groans and these neg ferrets that can run around within the business can really damage the business. And then, of course, you've got these incredibly motivated, driven, incredible individuals, whether they're in sales or marketing, or they're in tech, or they're in construction, or whether they're overtly opinionated and fairly vocal like I am, or whether they're quietly confident in what they're doing. Your teams must understand each other in order to grow. And the reason why I'm doing this broadcast now is because we're all growing and getting ready for an incredible year across the UK parks industry. And team training and team bonding is something I absolutely love. And I've trained startup companies, and I've also managed teams in excess of 500 people. Wow, it comes with some challenges trying to bring everybody together. But there is a really simple solution. There is a really simple process that you can do to really make the difference with your teams, to really help them understand each other, and to really bring them together. There are only 4 character types in life. And there's a very, very simple questionnaire that I've used over years. And of course, we've all got these psychometric tests when we're recruiting certain people of position. We want to really understand the psychology. But the most simple and effective way you can get your team together is for them to not be thinking about how they feel, but to be understanding how the other 3 character types feel. So there's 4 character types. I'm what you call a high yellow. Very vocal, love being on stage, talking, training, teaching, coaching, delivering, building, creative. And there's 3 other types. There's greens and there's blues and they're reds. Now, the greens, they're really technical. They're I, dot, and T crossing. And we need all of these 4 character types for a successful team to work. But here's the thing. If you've got an accountant may not necessarily get on with a sales guy or something that's doing something in sales, or someone that's really terrible at paperwork. Now, we've got to understand that there's 4 character types. I've got a questionnaire here, which I want to share with you because it's simple, it's fun, and it's engaging, and it's great for team bonding, and it will bring your teams together if it's delivered by the right person. That can make everybody feel relaxed in the room, that can really open everybody's minds to the fact that we're all human beings. We've got the same color blood that runs through our skin, regardless of age, gender, sexual orientation, or religion, or other beliefs. We're human, but we all think very differently. Now, the art of the game to build an incredible winning team is to teach your team to understand and know that the impact of what they do and the way that they think is not necessarily the way that someone else would think. In other words, we can't put the way that we feel and the way that we believe things should be, and we can't implant our beliefs onto somebody else because they've got their own beliefs. Now, this questionnaire, which I'm going to post in the chat function, I'm streaming to 4 social media channels at the moment. So I hope this is going to come out right. This is the questionnaire. It's called imahigh.com. The website is imahigh.com. Now, what you do is you get every single one of your team to go to this. Oh, it's come out on Facebook and it's come out on YouTube. Let me just post it directly in the thread for LinkedIn, because I tell you, it's really really important. Let me just see if I can get the live up on my laptop. It might have a bit of sound come out. Bear with me. There we go. I'm posting it in straight onto LinkedIn. You guys have got it now on LinkedIn, right? Great stuff. Right. Now, this IMA questionnaire is brilliant. Now, if you run a team and you want to improve your team, you want to get your team to be getting on better, you've got to get them to understand what the other person thinks. This questionnaire, which I've just posted, is called IMA. Now, there's yellows, greens, blues, and reds. It's very simple. You go online, you get your individuals to run their test. It's 20 questions. And at the end of that 20 questions, it's going to tell them whether it's a red, whether it's a green, whether it's a blue, or whether it's a yellow. Now, what this does is it really breaks down the whole sort of psychometric testing into something that's really simple, really easy, and really fun. But here's the beauty. You're going to have your yellows, your greens, your reds, and your blues. Reds and blues are kind of account managers, really great at managing accounts. Your greens are really I dotting T crossing accountants, technicians. Really, they've got to be spot on with the measurements. And the yellows are like me, really engaging type of characters. They're crazy, the nuts, as they say. But we need all these four character types to win. The thing is, if I don't understand a green who's Freddie the accountant or Freddie the engineer, if I don't understand how Freddie thinks, I can be really disrespectful to his way of thinking. If Freddie doesn't think that actually I'm a different character type and I'm a arms and a legs type of, creative speaker, coach and trainer, then he's going to think, my God, that guy is just too much for me. But it's because we're different character types. If I respect Freddie's role, if I respect Freddie and what he does as an accountant is so important in the way that he processes his mind, processes his job and carries out his function. If I respect that, we start to respect each other as a team. This IMA questionnaire for your team, I promise you, look at it. I promise you, do it. I promise you, get your friends, get your relatives to do it, because it's in understanding other people's thoughts and who they are as a character helps you to understand them and respect each other better. And when we have our teams and our teams are understanding each other, and if their values are different from each other, you can respect someone else's values, can't you? And they can respect yours. It's when I try to push my values onto you, or you try to push your values onto me, that we may not agree. Let me give you an example to make sense of this. So there's these two neighbours. They live next door to each other. And these two men have got identical houses from the outside. But from the inside, from the outside, they look identical. But on the inside, in the rear gardens, etc., they are not the same. The first house is immaculate. It's Mr. and Mrs. Immaculate, right? This house is immaculate. The windows are cleaned down. There's no dust anywhere. Beautiful car on the drive. Inside the house, it's immaculate. And in the garden, oh my gosh, it's like the Chelsea Flower Show. Well, the neighbour to the right, his outside of his house is dirty. It's not clean. The windows aren't clean. Inside, obviously, the neighbours have not seen it inside each other's houses, but it's fairly messy and there's lots of washing up left. And the garden has got like 6-foot bushes. Now, the guy who's got this really incredible house, he's looking out of the house next door and saying, oh my gosh, that guy next door is a tramp. His garden's terrible. He's not mowed his lawn. Oh my gosh, what is that person doing? There's always rubbish outside the house. Terrible human being. Because he's thinking that his neighbour's like him. The neighbour in the dirty house that appears to be dirty looks out the window at night and looks down at his neighbour's house and says, oh my gosh, that guy's got such a beautiful house. It's so well kept. So the neighbour on the left is making a judgment and an assertion that actually the neighbour on the right is this dirty, unkept, lazy toad. But they never speak to each other because they're completely different characters. And this happens in business. You've got people in your teams that are not speaking to each other right now, and they're not communicating. When we don't communicate in business, everything breaks down. When we communicate in business, when we talk freely and openly, we're allowed to express our opinions. Guess what? Incredible teams are grown and companies move into the stratosphere, and we have happy customers. So what happens one day is this Mr. Clean in the house on the left and Mr. Dirty, so-called, comes out at the same time in the morning and they're going to work. And it's one of those awkward moments where they're kind of scratching heads and Mr. Clean doesn't really want to talk to Mr. Dirty, feels so uncomfortable because he's made an impression. He knows that Mr. Dirty is Mr. Dirty. But Mr. Dirty, what he does, he says, good morning, neighbour. How are you? And Mr. Clean's like, oh my gosh, doesn't know where to put his face. Mr. Dirty's talking to me. And he puts his hand up, almost stutteringly. Good morning, neighbour. But this neighbour with a super clean house is so compelled to say something to Mr. Dirty. He says, Mr. Dirty, he doesn't say Mr. Dirty, he says, morning, neighbour. He said, I must ask, neighbour. He says, is there any chance, you could, mow down your garden and get those weeds down? It really is making the street look bad. And Mr. Dirty turns to the neighbour and says, neighbour, I'm so sorry. I just haven't had the time to do my garden. I just haven't got the time. He said, well, of course we've got the time. Why wouldn't you have the time? He said, well, look, let me explain. I've kept myself to myself for the last 18 months. My wife was diagnosed with cancer 2 years ago. She used to be a very high-ranking official in the council. I retired early to look after my wife. She's in late stages of cancer now. It's terminal, and she's got maybe 2 or 3 months to live. So I care for her full time. She's on oxygen, and all of a sudden, this bombshell of Mr. Clean just has this thing run through him. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, Mr. Dirty. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. Well, how could you, Brad? How could you, Brad? I'm talking about myself. How could you, Mr. Clean? How could you? Someone just sent a message. Hey Tom, how you doing? Hey Jules. How could you, Mr. Clean? It's not something I've broadcast. The point being is here that if our teams are thinking they know what someone else is thinking, if our teams aren't understanding that we're all different, we have a breakdown in communications, we have a breakdown in team bonding, we have a breakdown in business growth, we have a breakdown in becoming a winning team. Team building, team training, bringing our teams together, especially for the parks industry right now. We're gearing up for this most incredible summer season. We want the best sales, marketing. We want the best maintenance teams. We want the best suppliers, manufacturers, accounts teams, customer services teams. We want the best of the best of the best of the best to become the best team. It all starts with this little questionnaire, imahigh.com. It will give you the outcome. 20 questions, takes 5 minutes to complete. But your teams will have a laugh and a giggle. But also, they'll start to know, Freddie's a green. I knew he was a green. Johnny's a yellow. I knew you was a yellow. I'm not a yellow. I think I should be a blue. The team starts talking. They understand each other's different character types. They start to bond and realize, let's make time to listen to Mr. Clean and Mr. Dirty. Let's take time to listen to Freddie, the accountant, and Johnny, the sales guy, and Georgina, the accounts manager. We all have something to contribute, can improve the company, procedures, improve systems and processes, increase our top line profit, come up with incredible ideas that can help our companies grow. You can empower your teams to bond together. A green won't necessarily always get up and become vocal like a yellow because he's not a yellow, except perhaps at the annual Christmas party where Mr. Green's like, oh my gosh, that's Tom the accountant. Look at him dancing. In all seriousness, the success of your team depends on how they bond with each other. How can we build a strong winning team? How do we deal with different character types to win as a team? We must understand each character type in order to be able to respect who they are, what they do, in order for them to respect who you are, who I am, who we are. When we respect and understand each other's values, it's only then we can start to really build strong, incredible, and winning teams. Now, I've been in some companies. I had one company with 500 staff, and it was manic. Sales and marketing operation, it was absolutely manic. And there were some crazies in there, some amazing people in there. But when you get the team to talk and you come away from the business for a moment and get them to sit in an environment that's outside the business, sometimes you'll realize that 3 or 4 hours out of the business to show your team, help your team to be able to bond with each other when they come back into the business. Wow. It's an explosion of creativity, of work improvement, of work rates. It really is something very special. Many of you will do that already, but I hope the story of Mr. Dirty and Mr. Clean thinking they knew each other and having opinions of each other when actually they didn't. This is what the questionnaire will do for you, the IMAHigh.com questionnaire. It's fun, it's easy, and it will help you to bring the team together as long as you've got the right person to get the team to relax at the start. And if you haven't got somebody that's great at team bonding, that you'd love to come in to help your team to be able to really have an incredible team bonding session that when they come out of the doors, they just can't wait to get into work with each other, then give me a call. I'll be happy to come along and train them to do so. But for now, the success of your the team depends on how they bond with each other. Take this questionnaire. It's completely free. It's nothing to do with me. It's someone I come across. I've used it for years. And of course, a psychometric testing on a deeper level when we're looking at executives. This is the most simple and effective and fun way to break down people's inhibitions, to understand their characters so we can understand each other, to create a winning team. Have a fabulous evening, a fabulous weekend. God bless and take care.